Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's a lovely day outside. I'm going to start with our land acknowledgement. As you learn with us during this dialogue session, we encourage you to reflect on the land we are on. While we are spread far and wide, the TESL Ontario office is located on the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas, of the Credit, and the traditional territory of Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and Haudenosaunee. So I'm going to go through some tech things that we have, just in case if you're joining us for the first time, it will give you some chance to know what they are. So as you heard earlier, the session is recorded. And for audio and video, they will be located at the bottom of your screen. You can easily find them. And you are more than welcome to turn on your camera and unmute yourself when you would like to participate. So as I said earlier, you have an option to do or so. It's totally up to you. And the chat is also located at the bottom of your screen as well. And there's a raise hand function. If you would like to participate, you are more than welcome to raise your hand. So that way we'll give you a chance that you would like to talk. And we have question section. You can ask your question if you like, or you can put it in the chat, or you can actually raise your hand and ask permission that you can directly ask the subject expert matter. And if you like live transcription, it will be over here as well. And in the chat section, make sure to select everyone to chat publicly and select participant name to chat privately. Let's say you know someone from previous presenter or whatever will be the case, and you would like to say hello, choose that person name and then start chatting. That way nobody sees that private conversation. As I mentioned, his hand raise button, some reason it's not as visible as other. Once you click in the little icon in here, it appears all the way here, but you also have those fun functions that you can use. This evening, we don't really have polls, so therefore we don't need to worry. I'm gonna move on. As I said earlier, you have an option of live transcript. If you click on this, it will give you an option to make it available. Right over here, if you click this CC, and then it's gonna show subtitle. And if it bothers you, you don't wanna see title, and it will disappear on your screen. And for courtesy and respect for our dialogue session, please unmute yourself when asked by the moderator, and please avoid interrupting or speaking over someone. And also try to keep your comments no more than a minute if you like to talk. Disrespectful or insensitive comment will not be tolerated, so please be careful. The moderator may choose to remove someone if this happens. So without further ado, over to you, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Ganal. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, perfect. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, everything looks great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so welcome everyone to our TESL dialogue. This is the leadership pipeline of a volunteer-driven language teaching association. Our presenter today is Dr. Okan Effiong, and I'll read his background shortly, his bio. Okay, my name is Jacqueline Hurst, Jackie for short, and I'll be your host today. And we have our moderator, which we just heard from, Gonol Turkdogan. Okay, so our subject expert, Dr. Okan Effion, I hope I'm not butchering your name, holds a PhD in applied linguistics from the University of Southampton, United Kingdom. He teaches in the foundation program, Department of English in Qatar University, where he is the chair of the Conference Planning Committee. He's a current member of the TESL Board of Directors, 2020 to 2023, and chair of the TESL Finance Committee. He also served with the TESL International Association as chair of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, 2023 to 2015. Okan is the founder and past president of Africa ELTA. This is formerly Africa TESL, currently with 22 affiliate countries. He was on the board of Qatar TESL and served as president in 2014 to 2015. Okay, so he's really an expert. Okay. Okay, so our agenda today, we have 2 introductory questions, 4 conversation and discussion questions, and then we'll have a breakout room activity. We'll ask a question and then Gonol will put you in breakout rooms and then you'll come back and we'll have this discussion, okay? All right, so our first introductory question, okay, and this is for Dr. Okan. You'll get the questions first and then it will be thrown out to the other participants. Okay, so why would you volunteer to serve as a leader, Dr. Okan?
Thank you very much, Jackie, for the introduction and calling me the expert, subject matter expert. I think my bio says it's all about volunteering all my life. And why would I want to volunteer to serve as a leader? I think the short answer is I want to be a change agent. I want to be a change agent, which means there has to be something I am not very satisfied with, and I want to go in and change it. That's altering the status quo. The other reason could be personal, self-fulfillment. And I wouldn't say I would want to serve as a leader for the reward that comes with that. But some individuals, they want to serve as a leader in order to reap the rewards of leadership. But I personally will say, as a change agent, just to go in and change what I'm not happy with and something I want to see go the way my vision, my mission directs me.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Gonol?
Thank you again, Okan. That was very nicely explained. Now the floor is open to our participants. Please feel free to turn on your camera and your mic or raise your hand to participate in this question. And if you like, you can also share your comments or question you may have in the chat and I will read out loud on behalf of you. So Mitra already has a comment in here. I'm going to read out loud. To share my knowledge and transferable skills with the community and learning from them too. It's a great point, Mitra. Thank you. Anybody else?
Well, that's a very good addition, Mika, because that means you probably have some skills which is probably lacking in the organization or the structure you want to volunteer in, and you feel the organization can benefit from that skill that you're bringing to the table.
Okay, we have Francis would like to participate. Francis?
Yeah, I I've been a volunteer most of my life. I'm currently in retirement as such, and I probably spend in various organizations spending more hours volunteering than when I worked full time. But I don't like to be a leader. I enjoy volunteering, but not to be in charge of others. I prefer to just be more in the background. It's the leader that doesn't work for me.
Fair enough. We won't argue with you for sure. Anybody else would like to add? Okay, we have Carolina mentioned to be a part of positive change community. Absolutely. That's what the all volunteering thing's about, right? Sharing. Anybody else?
I want to go back to Francine's comment about not wanting to be a leader. And the analogy I can think of here is that maybe a cruise ship. You have the sailor on top, and then you have the man in the engine room. The sailor is not the one moving the ship. It's the people in the engine room that are actually moving the ship. So leadership is not just about the person that is just visible at the top. I think we can look at leadership as something that is shared. Because without the man in the engine room, that ship will not move. So Francine will prefer to be in the engine room and not on top. Am I right, Francine?
Oh, that's a light bulb moment for me. Yes, I've never thought of it that way, but I guess Gonal would agree that my role is important too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. No, you made a great point. Okay. Yeah, that's really important. It's totally a different point of view, right? When we see the name as leader, people a little hesitant because they don't want to be the head. Okay, we have Carolina would like to participate, please.
I feel the same as Francine, though. Like I know the whole doesn't work without the parts, and we are very important. But I'm avoiding the leadership too. Like I like to help out and be a very important person, like helping out. But I wouldn't like to take the bigger decisions, you know, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. Everybody has a different point of view, right? But I really like the way that, you know, you kind of looked at the point of view totally different, Okan. So that made a slightly different meaning to it, right? Anybody else?
We are doing as an association, TESL, Ontario, TESL, ITESL, whatever. You see that the famous people in the field are not necessarily the volunteers. It is the volunteers that are putting in place the enabling environment for them to be popular, to be famous. Because we organize conferences, they come and share their research findings. We have the publications, they come and publish their articles, they write books and publish. So they become famous because of the work we are doing for them. So if you look at the language association globally, the big names are not necessarily involved in the association, very few. Then, so it's something we do ask ourselves, and somebody will say, why do I have to spend so much time volunteering when I can use that time to do my research and have maybe 2 or 3 publications in a year? I spend all this time doing volunteer work when nobody's saying thank you. But it has to be done. Someone has to do it. Yeah?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a comment in here from Milka. To volunteer, that's equals to learn more about myself and the needs of others, to lead, to engage and empower others. Absolutely. That's an excellent point, Milka. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely.
Thank you. I definitely see it as a twofold question. Because volunteering and then leadership, right? Like sometimes we can see that as one, and sometimes definitely it's a kind of 2 different ideas or experiences. So volunteering, I guess, kind of always enables you to learn, to discover, and not only needs, but also the strengths, you know, of either others or community. So it is definitely engaging. But then I think of myself when I want to lead, what I want to do will definitely engage others and then empower them, you know, to do the best. So that's kind of in a nutshell.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Nate. That was great. Thank you. Anybody else would like to participate? Floor is yours. Okay, we'll give another second or so. Okay, yeah, would you like to? I do, let's go. Please unmute yourself and turn on your camera. We'd like to hear what you're going to say.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hello, honey.
Hello, Nana.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, very loud and clear.
Okay, that's great, guys. So, why would I volunteer to become a leader? So one of the reasons is that I think the biggest picture that I can say that comes in mind is experience, no matter if it's paid or it's volunteer. But I think the experience, the knowledge, the effort, the passion that comes into becoming a leader is totally different than not becoming a leader and just sitting there, and not just sitting there, but listening and doing their job and sharing their responsibility. I think that's why I should volunteer as a leader.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No
That was
problem.
great. Anybody else would like to participate? Please let me know either in chat, or you can raise your hand, or you can kindly unmute yourself.
I would like to ask Francine again, if becoming a leader is something she might consider in the future. Having said already that leadership is not really what she would like to do, but she has all the energy and time to volunteer, but she doesn't want to be on top. Is that something you might want to consider in the future?
No. Because
I knew she was going to say no.
Comfort zone, eh? Just being comfortable in your comfort zone.
because I'm on camera now, and it is done out of respect for you, because I absolutely hate being on video. And I'm a person that very much voices their opinion and is opinionated, but I don't like to be the center of, I don't like eyes on me. So I think when you are a leader, by nature, the eyes are on you, looking for direction or feedback, but the irony is I'm always giving people my opinion, but I just, I don't like to officially take a leadership role. But the other side of my personality is I tend to organize everybody. And so in some respects, I suppose I am. I'm just not at the top of the ship. I'm down in the bottom, but still telling people what to do.
Part of the leader process. Okay.
I guess I don't want the title.
Okay. Yeah, we'll don't give you the title. That's fine. That's fine. If you're gonna be okay with that, no worries. Okay, everybody. Jacqueline, can we move on to the next question, please? Jacqueline, can you hear me? She's muted.
Her mouse is not responding there.
Okay, there we go.
Sorry. Okay, the next question.
Yes,
Sorry.
please. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to the next question. Name one major benefit of holding a leadership position. I think we touched on some of this, but that is directed to you, Dr. Oken. Name one major benefit of holding a leadership position.
Wow. One. I don't know if I can just mention one that is the most important. I think in a nutshell, I would just say maybe influencing the social context. Because I've held some positions, some which are not necessarily leadership, but like I said earlier, being a change agent, making something happen. I share some of the traits with Francine, like not being too visible in the social media. I don't make too much noise, but I just like to get things done. So influencing the social context. So one example I'll give you is the formation of Africa Health, which was Africa TESL. And looking back to see how it is doing 4 years or 5 years after I founded the association, I can look back to say that's really satisfying. So that's one benefit, just influencing that the social context. So in Africa in particular, I can say yes, I've put something there in place where English teachers in Africa can look up to or draw from.
Okay, Ganal, you're muted.
Okay, there we go. Thank you again, Okam, for explaining that and giving your personal answer. That's wonderful. Now the floor is yours. Please feel free to participate either in the chat or unmute yourself. Now your turn. Okay, we have a message in the chat from Mitra. Becoming more confident, believe in yourself, your power of unique abilities that people can observe and apply to their own professional or even personal life. That's great. Very good point, Mitra. Thank you. Thank you. And Nania mentions experience, definitely. We all need experience, right? How do we get that? And Munisa has her hand. Would you like to unmute yourself?
I think I did.
Okay, perfect. Go for it. You're muted again.
Hello.
We can hear you now.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it's a very interesting conversation. And I know it's difficult for everybody to, be in the leadership role. And I would love to have one if I get a chance. But then again, being a volunteer in any way is very much rewarding. Like as a person, I feel that it's something really awesome anyone can do, and it's like transferable skills, and your experience, and you're improving yourself, like personal development, professional development. There are lots of positive sides regarding the volunteering thing. So specifically in a leadership position, of course, you can, give a lot. You can become a role model. So others can follow you when you have all, the positive aspects of life and, a professional career, and you're using them as your kind of experience, and providing whoever's working with you, the ground, the space to learn. So that is something really amazing, and it's a very rewarding feeling, I would say, that being a leader and you're doing a lot for the community, you're giving it back to them, because I know paid options are very much available, but in this aspect, you're giving back to your community, because you somehow or the other, somewhere, somebody helped you in a lot of ways, and maybe, they were all maybe volunteers, maybe, doing whatever they were doing. But I think giving back to community is one of the aspects which we can do, being a leader in any position.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Munisa.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you. We appreciate that input. We have 2 comments in the chat. Zhang Dao is mentioning volunteering is a great concept to develop and cultivate leadership qualities. Yes, definitely. One who starts at the baseline becomes a better leader. Excellent. That is so true. Thank you. And Carolina also mentions having the ability to choose the best ideas of others you work with and lead team down to the best path. Definitely. We're making great points in here, my goodness. And Milka, knowledge transfer. Absolutely. Absolutely. Our conversation is going great. Anybody else?
I'm reading Jagged. Sorry about my pronunciation. Mr. Singh, is that Mr. Singh or Ms. Singh? Volunteering is a great concept to develop and cultivate leadership qualities. And actually the second part, which is one who starts at the baseline, eventually becomes a better leader. I think this is something we are going to discuss further down the line, I guess, when we talk about pipeline, if that will come up in the conversation, leadership pipeline. So we can come back to this point that has just been made by judges, because it's very important. Then also, I was looking at rewards and the responses we've received so far focus on maybe psychological reward or sociological reward, but none has mentioned economic reward, because there's that as well, economic. But this depends on the individual, the promise of reward. For example, we have some language associations in Africa, and we have leaders who have stayed there for like 5 to 7 years as leaders, not willing to relinquish power, not wanting to grow other people to learn, simply because the leader will sponsor them to conferences in America or Europe. So they decide to remain the face of the association. So I'm looking at the economic reward now as a reason, for being a leader. That may not apply in so many contexts, but this is just an example I'm giving. So there's economic reward for being a leader. And then the rest we've touched on here, whether on motivation, personality, or maybe self-concept, what you feel, how you can share, how you can help people, to grow people. And then sociological, I'm looking at it like a race, gender, class, social network. What actually kickstarted my leadership journey was something to do with race. When I attended a TESL convention in 2010 in Boston, Africa had only 4 affiliates. Africa as a continent had 4 affiliates. America as a country had more than 40 affiliates. And I sat there in the audience thinking, as big as we are in Africa, how come we only have 4 affiliates? And I thought TESL wasn't doing enough for us. I was very angry, I cried, and I wrote an angry letter to the president then. That was Brock Bradley. He was the president. I asked him to explain why Africa had only 4 affiliates. I was sounding like I could make things happen. I wasn't expecting any reply because I was a nobody. I was just a student doing my PhD, so I wasn't expecting any reply at all. But strangely, 2 weeks later, he did reply, outlining the effort he as an individual has made when he was doing a Peace Corps and what TESL was even trying to do to involve Africa. At that point, I thought there's no point sitting down as an armchair critic criticizing TESL, get involved. And then I wrote to the ED, Rosa then, and I said, how can I serve TESL? And she said, you can join any intersection, and I thought, or committee. And I thought diversity would be the ideal place for me to start with, or start from. That is how I got involved with TESL. And I think from then on, I started growing slowly in the association. So that's looking at the sociological theory of volunteering. Maybe you feel disadvantaged, that could serve as a motivation for you to now want to volunteer and change the status quo. Just an addition.
Thank you, Dr. Oken. That's great. And we have Francine mentions in here on the economic point, having a leadership role looks good on CV or resume in that case. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. It brings you a different level, right? Any other comments, questions? And we have a lot of people agreeing with that.
Yeah.
Okay, Jacqueline, can we move on, please?
Okay, perfect.
Sorry, I think Delroy would like to answer. Delroy? I'm
Hi,
sorry.
Did I
no,
miss?
thanks. Thank you very much. I joined a bit. I joined the conference a bit late as I was struggling to get into the Zoom meeting. My son is not here, and he was not able to help me along. I am a member of TESL Ontario and have been for quite a while. And I received the email announcing this meeting and was very interested in the topic. So I signed up for it. And this concept of leadership pipeline model, I believe the doctor will speak about that a little bit later on, but he touched on it a minute ago. The idea, a leadership pipeline model in the context of language-driven language teaching association, which would be, I suppose, related to TESL Ontario, I thought, because much of the leadership is is occurring on a volunteer basis. So I'm just wondering if later on in the lecture or in the conference, we'll talk more about how the concept of leadership pipeline model can apply to an organization such as TESL Ontario.
Would you like to answer that, Okan?
Leadership pipeline. I was hoping that maybe that's something we'll be discussing maybe much later. I don't know. Maybe the breakout.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay.
it is, I don't know what questions Jackie has for us here. So if it's going to come up, maybe we can hold on until then. If it's not going to come up, we can talk about it now. So Jackie, are you there?
Yes,
Do we have
yes,
leadership?
I'm here.
Your-
Well, you know what,
your
we can, what do you think, Anil? Should we leave it to the end and then maybe some of that stuff will be fleshed out as we go along?
Yeah.
Or
Yes, we could do that. So that way, if it's not answered, Okan will take a lead on that to answer that specific question. We can wait
Okay.
on, no worries.
okay, perfect, that works.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we have somebody just
Okay.
put a note. Let me read that one and then we'll move on to next question. In politics, power corrupts leaders, and that's what wrong in today's world. Leaders go astray and their corrupt way of rule make their electors very unhappy. Hope my view does not hurt anyone's feeling. For the
It doesn't help me because I know that and I can give examples. It doesn't help me in any way. No. So you're very right. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. No, that's great. I have to open the different point of views, right? But it's again very kind to mention that. Okay, we're ready for the next question.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're moving on. Thank you so much for your participation in that previous section. Now we're moving on to the conversation and discussion questions. And I believe this one is just a flip side of what we did, we mentioned just now. And it is, what is a major drawback of serving in a leadership position? So the other side of the coin, benefits, drawback.
Let me start by saying it's in economics, they say opportunity cost. Something has to give. So a lot of us trying to balance your leadership responsibilities with your personal and professional life. That's one way to look at it. I think I'll just stop here, maybe wait for others to add to that, and then we'll continue with the conversation. So that's a drawback for me, or for me.
Great, thank you, Okan, for sharing your personal point of view on that question. And now the floor is yours. Please feel free to participate. Raise your hand. If I don't happen to see your hand, please somehow put it in the chat box so that way I don't miss you. Okay. We
There is
have-
Naina. There is Naina who would like to say something.
Okay, please unmute yourself, Naina.
So, one of the major drawbacks for this leadership position, I think, is expertise. I mean, you need to be qualified. You need to have lots of knowledge in when you're a leader. Like you have the power, you have the authority, and you just want to have the knowledge or the professionalism, the qualification, the competencies to be in that role. And sometimes that may be something that may be missing, and you need to professionally develop yourself like we're here today.
Thanks, Naina. That was a great point of view to share with all of us. We appreciate
No
that.
problem. Thank you.
And we have Mitra mentioning organizational expectations and standards in leadership may differ from yours, which can lead to conflict between you and co-members. Absolutely, for sure. And we have Lydia, you may not be taken seriously. Great different points. If anybody would like to add on that or add totally something different or a question?
Adding to the organizational structure, I think inadequate organizational resources can be very frustrating to people volunteering in leadership positions, or maybe the lack of work structure itself, especially for a fledgling organization, which is new and it doesn't have structures in place. That again can be very frustrating. I'm sorry, I have to keep drawing on my own personal experience to make my point. For example, Africa ELTA, unlike big organizations, big associations in the West, we do not have a central office. We do not have a physical structure. You can call this is the headquarters. We do not have staff we can pay to work as secretaries or directors or to do different things. It's just there virtually and just a few individuals pulling their resources together. So the lack of structure may be a drawback when you want to serve in an organization such as that, because there is no structure there. And even where you have the structure, there may also be conflict of interest, maybe conflicting interest between the volunteer versus the staff that is employed to work in the association. People with different missions or visions working together could lead to clash of interest, and then would be a major drawback.
Thank you. That's great. We have Carolina also mentioned is a lot of responsibility. I totally agree. It is, depends how much you take in, right? As a leader can be overwhelming. Anybody else would like to participate? Let me see if anybody raised hands. No, if I miss you, please let me know. I don't mean to miss anybody, but
No, Gunal, sorry, I raised hand. Maybe I don't know what happened.
okay, sure, please.
Okay. So yeah, I was just wondering that drawback of leadership position could be depending on the personality. It could be overwhelming. It could be a lot of high expectations from yourself and sometimes from others as well. So that can be a drawback, because when you have, it is good when you have high expectations from yourself. You work harder to get it, to achieve it. But when you have something which is not given, something which is not required, something which is not your responsibility to do, and others expect you a lot, so then it can become a problem, or it can become overwhelming, and you try your best and you're frustrated, and these kind of emotional situations that can affect your leadership. So that's what I believe.
Oh, thank you. That's actually important point, and thank you for sharing your point of view with everyone in here.
Thank you.
No worries. I'm going to read out loud Francine's message in here. I think as a leader, you have to delegate to others. You cannot always then guarantee that the work will get done as you had expected or asked. Yes, that's totally true. Yes, all is just sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. And Dev also mentions a good leader must have humility and zero ego. Yes, must have a will to serve and help others in any given situation. Absolutely, that's a very, very important point. Ego part, right? And Milka also mentions definitely the clear goal, the structural aspect, and mentioned by Dr. Okan, and the level of commitment, perceived responsibility. Thank you everyone for great participation. This is wonderful. Would you like to say anything, Okan? Any of these comments?
I think a lot has been said, and it's just the way people interpret themselves and the world around them that will help them in absorbing the disappointment that comes with leadership when things don't go the way you want them to go. Because leadership qualities include resilience, determination, perseverance. And so without these traits, you may not be able to withstand the disappointment or the shock of things going wrong. So I think it's still part of being a leader to be ready to accept negative outcomes. That's part of it. And I take responsibility for these as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Okan. Thank you. Anybody else would like to participate or turn on their camera or audio to talk about it? Guess we're good. Can we move on, Jacqueline?
Okay, sure.
Okay, good.
Okay, very good participation. Let me see. Next question is, okay, what would make you resign from a leadership position prematurely? What would make you resign from your leadership position prematurely? Okay, Dr. Okan.
Yeah, go ahead, give it my personal example. I actually did resign from being the TESL president. I was voted in for a 2-year tenure, but I resigned after 1 year. I was a victim of nepotism, and I had to just leave. I had no choice. The board that I was working with had a different vision. So my vision and their vision were not aligned at all. And which is like being unevenly yoked with people that had their own personal agendas, not the organization. They were not working in the interest of the organization. So, and we had a board of 11 members, 1 US citizen, myself a Nigerian, and then we have an Iranian. The rest were from Egypt. 8. So, sorry, can I just, sorry about this. So, and as a board, we had to vote on everything. So whatever you come up with, whatever suggestion you come up with, you'll be voted out. You'll be, whatever suggestion you come up with, the majority will vote down your opinion. So after 1 year, I just had to resign in frustration. And so that was one reason I had to resign. So I met expectations, lack of support from my colleagues, I would say, or misaligned vision. So that's my.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the input. We appreciate that. And Nania would like to participate. Would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah, so coming from Dr. Okan's response, so I agree, and I think what would make you resign from the position prematurely? I think it depends what stage you're at. So if it's prematurely, you're probably in the early stage that you don't have enough experience, you don't have enough competencies, you don't have enough knowledge. to contribute to the position. So I think that's what makes us resign and just holds back a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your input. Yes, those are, some of them is a very important reason that leadership position prematurely resigned, for sure. And I'd like to read Mitra's comment in here. When I see conflicts of interest and expectations, which are not realistic and applicable to the role that I've been assigned to serve the members. Thank you, Mitra, for that input. For sure, if you see some conflict of interest. Anyone else would like to participate? Let me see if anybody raised their hand. Yes, we are good to move on to the next question then.
I think Carolina. Oh,
is it?
sorry.
Did I miss Carolina? I don't see.
Oh, she had her hand up.
Oh, okay. I some reason I don't see any hands on my side. I apologize about that. Please unmute yourself.
I did. I get back to my earlier position that I said that the machine doesn't work without the wheels, So I think if I was a leader, I was in a leadership position, one thing that would make me resign prematurely would be that, the team would not be a good team. And how can I be a good leader without having a good team? Because you need the support of your team. So I think that would be one reason that I would resign. If I wouldn't make the team work, because you can try your best, but sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Thank you, Carolina. No, actually, that's an important point. Everything needs to work in a harmony, right? If that harmony is not there, then it's the best option to resign, to, find a different place or find other things or have some sort of a meeting to work it out. I have some comments coming in. I'm going to read those out loud. Mitra also mentions a few other things like interfering with your work schedule. Yes, definitely. And taking a lot of time, more than you expected. Also, it's something that people don't want to continue. And Milka says, once I had to resign from a couple of positions because I moved to another city and had to face other challenges. Yes, that could be other options, right? Thank you for mentioning that, Milka, for sure. If you move somewhere else and it's too far away and then you cannot do anything online, which online become popular because of COVID, but before that, you just resign, right? Any other comments?
And what Mr. has written is what I wanted to add. Lack of support from your organization, your day job. If you're not getting support from your day job, it could be a problem. Because even where your day job doesn't suffer, your line manager or your head of department might think you're devoting too much time to your voluntary organization than it should be to your primary duty of teaching. So that could be a problem. So lack of support. Whereas in some organizations, they may show a level of understanding, like institutional support. They give you maybe release hours to do what they're doing, but where that doesn't exist, you will be forced to resign from your leadership position. Yeah.
For sure. Thank you for your input. Anybody else would like to add anything in the chat? Okay, I think we're good. Shall we move on to the next question?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next question is, which will bring out the best from a leader? Intrinsic motivation or extrinsic motivation? Intrinsic or extrinsic?
I vote for intrinsic. Because Blessed is she who expects nothing, for she shall never be disappointed. When you go in there without expectation, material reward, economic reward, financial reward, you just go in there as a change agent to make a contribution to humanity. I find that more satisfying. So I'll vote for intrinsic motivation. I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for any other person.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much to participate. Either way you like, either chat or unmute yourself, raise your hand. Raising hand, I don't really see, so maybe it's a good idea. See, I'd like to add something into this, which intrinsic motivation, I believe, is the main drive for almost anything that we like to accomplish. So of course, because you're intrinsically motivated, you have a passion, you are just doing it because it's part of you, it's part of enjoyment, part of fun. That's what you want to continue on doing, what you're doing as a leader, and not additional something extra that you're expecting will come with that leadership. So if something that natural follows, that is a good thing, it's some sort of a benefit for you. But if it doesn't, you still will continue because you're just passionate about doing it. So your intrinsic motivation is activated, basically. So you don't need any other drive. We have some
Can I share?
comments going on. So Milka also mentioned intrinsic. So, and Mitra mentions both, some levels, but mostly a leader should be extrovert person with high intrinsic motivational level to be able to take the responsibility and interact with others. Absolutely, Mitra. Thank you. And Carolina mentions, I think it has to be some kind of balance between the two, but I agree with Dr. Okan. Intrinsic motivation is more important. And Zainab agrees with that as well. And Naina, please, floor is yours, Naina.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think this conversation is very interesting. I just wanted to say, I think both types of motivation go hand in hand. I mean, it's not just one or the other, but I think the main motivator would be something that not only that we're passionate about, but how to meet our goals, trying to put it on a resume, getting a job, counting those hours for experience, for good impression, for good professionalism. It's what we do it for, I think, is the main thing.
Thank you, Naina. That's a great point of view to share with us. We appreciate that.
No problem.
Do we have anybody else raising hand or like to add anything to intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, which brings the best out of it? Are we all agree?
It depends on the individual and the personality of the individual asking this question. Because although we all say intrinsic, or most of us agree that intrinsic is more, but in a different conversation, some people will opt for extrinsic motivation and the reason for volunteering. I'll give you an example of some leaders in Africa who are leaders simply because they want to be sent to America or England for conference. And that's just the only reason they volunteer as leaders. We cannot call that intrinsic motivation. So it depends on who you're talking to and the economic circumstances of the individual.
Thank you. Thank you for It's a great example for sure. I have another comment in here in the chat. I feel that intrinsic traits are better for a good leadership. I totally agree with you. I think intrinsic, probably extrinsic might have some benefit as well, but to get the best out of that leadership, I think intrinsic is the number one. Okay, I guess we're good to move on.
Okay, awesome.
I don't see any hand raised, no any other comment. Jacqueline?
No, I'm not seeing any either. I
Can
thought
we move
Delora
on?
had something, but okay.
I'm just making notes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were motioning. Okay, so should DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and accessibility be consideration in selecting a leader? Okay, what do you think, Dr. Oken?
Yes, taking into account the cultural context in which you operate. I think if you're in a monocultural context, DEI may not really be an issue. But if you have an association with the multicultural membership, I think DEI is very important. And I'm only talking culture. I mean, there are other things. DEI is such a broad thing that it's not just about culture, race, gender, orientation, so many things. So I think it's an important consideration in selecting a leader, because if you have a leader from representing a certain segment of that membership, then those members who identify with that leader might be able to bring their friends and colleagues and then increase the membership of that association. So if it's multicultural, maybe not necessarily an issue, but I think in the present world that we live in now, there's no such thing as monoculture. So DI is very important as far as I'm concerned, as far as I would say.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer. I agree. Any other comments about that or different views?
No, I think Dr. Oka, if I may be permitted, has touched on a very important point, especially in some of the highly developed societies like Canada and so on, where strong civil rights laws that protect minorities, and there's movements against racial discrimination at the workplace and racial profiling and so on and so forth. I don't know to what extent this is taking place in Africa or in non-industrialized countries or developing countries in Central America and Latin America and so on. But I'm quite interested in the idea that the organization should fashion leadership in the organization itself rather than look outside the organization to find leaders, which was typical of how companies developed, say, I don't know, in the mid 20th century and so on. So I'm hoping to hear a little bit more about that. Recruiting within the company, within the organization for new leaders rather than to look outside the organization. I'm kind of interested in that idea.
Okay.
Yes, Jackie?
No, I was just thinking because about what he said, in the sense that especially in larger organizations, what I see happening is that the leadership, yes, diversity. What Delora was saying about inside, there seem to be what do you call it? Like, a group of people who are able to just pull from each other. And so when there's a leadership position available, it goes to one of, but that person also could be in the organization, other organization, as well as in the United States. I've seen that where, because others know, I guess, they're either friendship or they know the ability, they would pull from their pool. But I guess that would also cut out some of the people who are very, who know more in the company is what I'm saying, right? So I don't know, am I making sense?
Yeah,
Why
you
not?
are. Darren, sorry.
Go ahead, doctor.
No, I just wanted to ask what you and Jackie just said, because in an organization, I mean, when I say organization, I'm just looking at the language teacher associations, not profit-making companies and all that. And it may be very difficult to address the DIA question if we have to adopt a democratic approach, because during an election, it's all about numbers. If the different constituencies don't have, or a particular constituency doesn't have enough votes to vote their representative or who they will want to see there, that person cannot make it into the leadership pipeline. So to ensure that DI actually works or operates, I think undemocratic approach is needed here. That's by selection. So you look at the different constituencies, you pick individuals from there and make them leaders. Yes. So that is why it goes back to what he's trying to say, getting leaders from within, not from outside.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I have a few messages in the chat I'm going to read out loud for the rest of you. Let me see. Oh, absolutely. It's one of the most required skills, especially today's world, where a lot of people are living and working together in different parts of the belonging to different background and ethnicity. And there's also message, the chosen person, if it doesn't follow this, will soon be gone. Expect he know a lot of high profile people. And then Mitra mentions this is what is going here mostly, but don't you think it would be better to let externals as well?
Let's hear from Mitra what means by external. External as in bringing people from outside the association to become leaders, or?
Yeah, based on what you mentioned, this is something that I mostly see it here. So we are actually the real witnesses of the system of, for example, hiring here. Even we are talking about volunteering, and I know that the nature of volunteering is totally different from having or being hired by a company or an organization. But I think if we just limit it to the internal pool of the people who are actively working in a community or in an organization, then what about those qualified people out of the pool? So they should also be given an equal opportunity if we are going to add and apply DEI to every aspect of living, working in this diverse community. Otherwise, then we ourselves, we are just condemning and rejecting DEI as the principle that everywhere now you hear about it. Diversity, equity, inclusion. But honestly, I can tell you that this is not always followed by managers, organizations, and companies.
I think that's a good point. If I can be permitted to make a comment.
Absolutely, go for it.
I think that's a really excellent point. Because I believe this pipeline framework, this pipeline concept, the leadership pipeline concept, it's been developed before, I believe. And I think the doctor is going to perhaps pick up on that later. It's an excellent concept. But I don't think this idea that because of diversity and so on and so forth, and the pressures on the organization to hire outside the company, and there might be laws that would stipulate that if you hire 2 white people, you should hire 2 black people or non-white people, and so on and so forth. I don't think that should, restrict the organization or tie its hands from looking inside the company to find what it's looking for. If that diversity exists within the company, well, look there first rather than look outside first. That's what I'm thinking. And I think the good Dr. Okan will perhaps pick up on that later. But I think the previous speaker has made a rather excellent point in pointing the direction into pointing the discussion into the direction of thinking of talent outside the organization. That might be better for the organization than to look inside. So it's a very complex matter.
Thank you, Delroy and Mitra. You both did an excellent point on this, and I'm 100% agree. I think sometimes they are not even aware they're doing that, to be honest, or they're just doing it, whatever is easy at that moment, right? Thank you, everybody. This is great. Anybody else would like to add anything?
Milka, I would also like to maybe provide a comment, and it would be both to Mitra and to Delroy. So sometimes I have actually witnessed once in this one organization, it was a non-for-profit organization, and then, kind of they were looking for an expert in certain type of, role to be fulfilled. And although that I believe that we had, kind of qualified, competent people within the company, they actually reached outside of the company on purpose, just in order to kind of minimize the bias that might have already existed, within an organization. So they needed somebody, with the, certain set of competencies and experiences to kind of be able to do it unbiasedly in a way. So I guess kind of that was like one of the reasons, but it was a very, very kind of specific company and specific project that they were looking after. But by no means, in today's world, we should always try to encourage diversity and equity and inclusion, in any shape and form, kind of so for everybody to be or to have a sense of being represented equally. So yeah, those are probably, like the models that should guide us.
Absolutely, Milka. Thank you for your input and your insight, all this, and thank you to everybody sharing their, experiences or great example, real life experiences that you've seen. That's wonderful, because we see this all the time, not just in Canada, right? Absolutely, Nadia, you're right. Respect and take into consideration. Totally agree with all of you at the moment. And so we have, if I'm gonna ask Dr. Okan if you would like to add something to it before we move on to breakout room activity.
There I was asking what obtains in maybe Africa or Latin America, because I just want to say that in Africa, we don't have amendments. Second Amendment or First Amendment, your rights, human rights, there are no such things. But in Nigeria in particular, when it comes to politics, they try to strike a balance between the big tribes, the North, the West, and the East. So if the president is from the South for another two terms, next time the president will come from the North, just to maintain that unity. Not necessarily competence, but just to maintain that unity. We don't choose the best leader. We just choose based on which tribe is supposed to be represented. So it could be a problem trying to address DEI and A in an organization where you have to bring people that are not very competent to become leaders, and the solution of people that will actually do the job, simply because you're trying to address or incorporate DEI into your mission, your organization strategic plan. So that's my addition to that.
Thank you for your input. We appreciate that for sure. I think now we're gonna move on to breakout room activity, and Jacqueline will read out the question and I'll give you some information about that.
Okay, so for the breakout room activity, the question is, how long or short should an ideal leadership pipeline be?
Delroy, you're muted.
It's Helen.
Okay,
Helen,
there we go.
Helen will speak on our behalf.
Sure. So we had a great conversation and we thought that leadership pipeline could last for the entire course of an organization, so that it's always occurring and it's always moving along the team, sort of like water that flows along. That was the analogy we had. And we also talked a little bit about how there are possibilities to recruit from both inside and outside an organization to find new people to join. And then we had a wonderful conversation about volunteering and how fulfilling it can be to be contributing to an organization and to be part of a leadership pipeline.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Helen. That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
If anybody else would like to share any other ideas before we move on to room, group 2?
Mr. Jagdev might have something to say. I'll just say briefly, we had a wonderful conversation, and I believe Helen has represented the what we said very well.
Okay, that's fair enough. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go to room 2. We have Carolina, Linjija, Milka, and Shannon. Anyone in that room, please unmute yourself and share with us what happened.
Okay, first of all, we were a little bit confused about what leadership pipeline is, so we kind of figured it out. And we came to the conclusion that this leadership pipeline has to be as long as the individual needs support until they reach a level that they can be autonomous, they can do their what they have to do alone, or the project is finished, if that makes sense. Because we came, like, we saw that the leadership pipeline is something that it comes like from the volunteers, the team members first, and the next level would be the entry level and the mid-level positions, and finally the executive level. So we think that this should be all about supporting each other until the project is finished.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Carolina. Definitely, you folks did made a great point in that room. That's perfect. After we are done with this, taking up what happened in the room, Dr. Okon also will share his point of view, and then we'll start from there. Anybody else in room 2 would like to say anything before I move on to room 3? Are we good? I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to say what they would like to. I guess we're good.
Well, yeah, well summarized, Carolina. Yeah, thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Carolina, again. You were a good voice, good leader, right, in the group. Okay, how about room 3? We have Mitra, Naya, and Zainab. Anybody in that group?
Okay, so we thought that it should be long because it's always ongoing and it's always progressing. We're always learning from our accomplishments. It can be short as well, depending on experiences and competencies that we have. And yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing what happened in that group. And we had a great input. So I'm just going to ask Dr. Okan if he would like to add anything to it before we close the session.
I think the groups have actually touched on the points I wanted to make. I watched a BBC program called In the Factory last week, and I learned that a bottle of Bailey, Bailey liquor, yeah, it takes 3 years to manufacture a bottle of Bailey. They take the grain, put it in the whatever they put it, the silo or whatever it is. Then from start to finish, it takes 3 years before it gets to the shop. So leadership, like I see it as a queue. The pipeline, I see pipeline as a queue. And I see it in terms of people and in terms of duration. So we've heard about experiences and competencies. And yeah, I see that as the time people will take to move from getting into that pipeline to the end of the pipeline to emerge as a leader. Then, but I'm more interested in seeing the pipeline as number of people where you can look back and say, in the next 2 years or 5 years, depending on the mission or strategic goals of the organization, you have a continuous flow, which will ensure sound succession planning. If we look at TESL International, for example, they're trying to address DEI and A, and it's a struggle to get leaders from certain parts of the world to join the structure. Africa, for example, we're only 2 on the board, and there's one other person from Sudan in the professional council. After that, maybe in another 2-3 years, there'll be nobody from Africa in TESL. So it's a struggle. So which is why the answer to this question, I'll say reasonably long enough to ensure that there is no vacuum and people can still continue to come in and join and then graduate into those leadership positions. That's what I would like to add to the discussion.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Okan. That was wonderful. And thank you, everyone. And over to you again, Jacqueline.
Okay, great. Okay, great session, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you. Changing my slide. Okay, so thank you to everyone. And thank you to Dr. Okan Effiong. And I'd just like to say it was a great session. And if anyone has questions, additional questions, or needs more information, Dr. Effiong's information, you can contact him by email or LinkedIn, and his information is on the screen. So once again, I say thank you to our subject expert. Yes, Dr. Okan. And I will be handing over to Gonal.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. That was wonderful. I'm going to do a quick, do you mind stop sharing? And give you a quick update. So if anyone wondering about the certificate, we'll be emailing to you using the email address that you signed in. Please be patient with us. Probably in 7 days or so, you will receive it. And we will also email you the survey. Please let us know because we would like to improve, make it better for our members and the participants. Take your time and do the survey and let us know what you would like to see for the future topics, or you would really enjoy, and any other feedback, positive, negative, constructive, will be wonderful. And these are the upcoming sessions that we have. Please have a look at my screen, and if you're interested in any of those 2 events, first is Playing to Learn Games in the ESL Classroom by Rachel, and English Medium Instruction Across Contexts by Dr. Joyce Killing. And that will be it for today. Have a wonderful Saturday afternoon. Enjoy the sun. And it's quite nice over here, but Dr. Ocon is far away from us. It's night for him when we wish him a great evening. And thank you so much again for joining us this evening. That was a wonderful session. I personally truly enjoyed it. I hope everybody else did. And thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.